Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. I'm the Reverend Dr. Marian Stewart, and it is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. What a fine morning it is. This is the day we've been given. This is the day that we celebrate life together. Welcome. As we begin our time together, we want to acknowledge the land which holds us. It has been inhabited for thousands and thousands of years. We know some of the names of those who precede us: the Adena, the Hopewell, the Miami, the Seneca, the Cayuga. And we know that Native peoples were removed violently from here to lands west of the Mississippi in 1830. It's difficult to imagine how to hold that legacy with integrity, but here we are, trying. All the while, this land that holds us, this land for which we are grateful, may we be thoughtful and may we be humble. Held by this beautiful land and holding these difficult truths, I invite you to center yourselves as we listen to our prelude. Thank you, Nathan. We so appreciate your music and thank you for your generosity in sharing your musical talent.
Good morning, everyone. Seems like maybe the internet just had a blip at the church. So let's give Reverend Marian a moment to see if she can get back on. How are you? See a couple of people checking in the chat. It's good to see you here today. Once again, if you're just joining us, Reverend Marion's coming back in after an internet blip. Thank you all for your patience. And there she is.
Yes, good morning. I am at church and our internet had a glimpse, so we are so sorry about that. But I welcome back to everyone. And if you're here, say hi in the chat box. And if you're a visitor, I invite you to fill out the visitor form. The link is also in the chat box. As we get going this morning, I want you to know that we have a lot of things happening at First UU. We're a busy congregation. That's true even in this time of pandemic. Make sure you check your Friday news and your Rev Talk for more opportunities to participate. This is the first Sunday in our theme of commitment, and I hope you see that show through in this morning's service, but also in the weeks to come. Let me get set up here for you after that internet blip. Sorry about that. But if you have your chalice nearby, I invite you to bring it close nearby so that we can light our chalice together. And this morning we have the wonderful pleasure of having Sylvia Howe and Paula Rue light our chalice for us this morning and say chalice lighting words. Sylvia, Paul, take it away.
Thank you, Reverend Marion. The author of these chalice words is Carlina Weick. She is a poet, was a member of the congregation that ordained me in 1974. Some among us, seeing the chalice lit for the first time, wonder at its meaning.
We tell them this flame has many meanings.
If they yearn for just one, we tell them this flame means welcome.
Later, when they are warmed by it and seeing it perhaps with more than eyes, we tell them,
challenge yourself to give it meaning. And later, challenge the meaning you gave it.
Until one day, seeing it lit, they share with others in attendance a deep reverence for the journey that brought them to this light.
Then, knowing that the symbol, though no commandment, does not illuminate an easy path,
They hold it out to others and invoke its first meaning, welcome. We light this chalice and invite you to light yours.
Thank you, Sylvia and Paul. Our chalice is lit. We so appreciate your presence and your participation in the service this morning. Thank you. I now invite you to sing. Morning has come. It's a beautiful morning filled with sunshine and the temperatures are warming up. So I invite you to sing, gather those nearby or sing all by yourself. Just sing, sing, sing. Morning has come.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope shines
Good morning. I just love that hymn. I think the piano part is so beautiful and also a good way to wake up on a Sunday morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration. Our Sunday school class for 3 to 7 years and our youth group for 12 to 19 years both meet online later today. Please check the chat box or email me for more information. Today's story is called An Amazing Adventure. Get it? Maize is another word for corn. That's a pretty amazing and corny pun, if you ask me. The character in this story meets quite a few animal helpers along the way. Let's see what kinds of creatures we can spot in some of the pictures. My name is Bonnie. I'm planting corn for the new growing season, but I have to hurry. My parents' seeds have already sprouted. Flocks of birds fly in to try to eat the kernels of corn we planted. The cats and I work together to chase them away, shouting, "Fly away, you meddling parrots!" A few days later, a single sprout comes up. I name my sweet little sprout Green Top, and I read lots of books to him to help him grow. When Green Top feels thirsty, I give him plenty of water. The cats and I love to play hide and seek with Green Top. I bring Green Top some plant food called fertilizer. And Green Top keeps growing every day. One day, I watched the bees talking to the other plants in the field. They say that corn is on its way. I run to check on Green Top. My parents' plants look very happy. Why is Green Top so sad? I ask all his friends. Does anyone know why Green Top is sad? Snail doesn't know. And Caterpillar doesn't know either. Only Frog answers me. He says, "Ribbit, ribbit," and then jumps into the water. What does that mean? Oh, I get it. There's too much water around Green Top. So I'll dig a trench for the extra water to flow away. Sometimes finding Green Top is hard. As he grows taller and taller, he looks just like the other plants. I'll tie my red hair ribbon around him so I can always find him. Now it's easy to spot Green Top. Two more weeks pass. Green Top grows even taller. It's harvesting season at last. Green Top gives me a special gift, a lovely ear of corn. Our maize harvest makes quite a mountain. I climb up and place Green Top's beautiful gift right on top. The end. In this story, Bonnie maintains a loving friendship with her corn plant, Green Top. She nurtures his potential and adapts when she is offering in response to the plant's changing needs. Bonnie also collaborates with the wider community, consulting snails, caterpillars, frogs, and of course, plenty of cats when she needs support. Together, they joyfully work all season long to reach a common goal. While we think about the gifts Bonnie, Greentop, and their community shared, I invite you to consider what seeds to sow this spring to grow the things you dream about.
Thank you, Amber. I love that story and the pictures were awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and for inviting us to figure out which gifts we're going to share. This morning, for our caring meditation, to prepare for it, I invite you to nestle your joys and sorrows into the rich earth of our caring meditation, which will be in just a few moments. If you have had a significant event in your life recently, we invite you to share it in just a few words in our chat and then say send to panelists. Make sure you include your name with that. In this way, we communicate what is making us wilt or thrive and allow us the greater community to respond to our changing needs. I invite you to submit your submissions now to panelists. And now I invite you to sing together. With joy, we claim the morning light. Let us sing.
With joy we claim the growing light, advancing thought and widening view, the larger freedom, clearer sight, which from the old unfold the new. With wider view come laughter goal, with fuller light more good to see, with freedom truer self-control, with knowledge deeper reverence be.
Thank you, Brandon, for leading us in that song. You have a wonderful voice and it's so good to hear you. This morning for my reflection, I'd like to share with you two readings. The first reading is the parable of the sower. It's from chapter 4 in the book of Mark, found in the Christian scriptures. Listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up and grew and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. Then Jesus said, whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Our second reading this morning is A Beautiful Garden. It's a contemporary tale as related by the Reverend Robin Letterman Zucker. Everything was neat. Every plant seemed to add to the overall beauty. One day, my colleague came by as the gardener was tending his garden. My minister friend commented about how wonderful God is and that he can make such a beautiful garden, to which the gardener responded, yeah, you should have seen it before I started helping. There ends our readings for this morning. 2 weeks ago, we were crunching through the last of the snow and the ice. And the large snow mounds now are just starting to recede. I know the ones in the parking lot out back here at church are still pretty deep, but they're going away. A friend of mine a few weeks ago brought me daffodils and hyacinths from gardens that were much warmer than ours here, but the season is coming. I'm a gardener, nothing fancy, and certainly more luck than skill. And I find myself this spring just wondering about a whole new world of possibility. But I also have to wait. Now, patience is not my best virtue, but you see, it's a new yard for me, and I have no idea what's going to come up in the spring. I don't know what's planted, and I have to be open to being surprised. This summer, as we ease out of the pandemic, I'm looking at the prospects of yet another staycation. The Canadian border will be closed through the summer, most likely, preventing me from gathering with my Canadian colleagues and friends for our annual gathering. That will have to wait for yet another year. So in the meantime, my mind started wondering that since I'll be home and am able to help it by weeding and watering, might it be time to actually start a real vegetable garden of my own? Now, I was musing about that this week with Amanda Hayes, our justice coordinator. She's a gardener extraordinaire. She's simply amazing. She listened and made suggestions, and then she kind of asked this showstopper question. Have you had this soil tested? I was like, well, no, hadn't even thought about it. We live in Ohio. Don't things just grow? Silly me. Any sower seeds knows that they have to know about the soil. Amanda, the great promoter of composting and all things organic, was right. The condition of the soil is a critical factor to the success of any garden. Of course, sunlight, rain, and temperatures have a role to play as well, but my reliance on things beyond just tossing seed out on the ground could be construed as a commentary on my faith. Am I the sower who takes the easy way out by tossing out lots of seed, ideas, thoughts, opinions, and just hoping that some will fall on good soil? Am I wandering through this world, blessed with luck, having ventured only briefly into the territory of hard, rocky soil? Another question for myself is, am I relying on God or others to do the work? Or conversely, am I willing to get my hands dirty, get on my hands and knees and get down there and actually do the weeding and the planting and the pulling, the watering, all of these things? Am I willing to do the hard work? Years ago, when I first found Unitarian Universalism, I was elated. I found my people. There was no question of creed or dogma or what you believe when I entered the door. No well-intentioned, we don't do people like you here. That's a true story. But it was just, welcome, hi, glad you're here, come on in. And I did. And I met a lot of new friends there inside. It was wonderful. I had found good soil. As time went on, I became more and more comfortable in my new church home. I signed up to help. I did the newsletter, chaired the membership committee, and I was a care partner. It was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. And it was also hard work. And in the list of things that I did, you might note that I even listened to the Sunday sermons. Oh my goodness, what a novel idea. It felt good, and I was home and I was busy. But what I didn't see happening was a gradual composting of my own heart. gradually turning and enriching my understanding of how I experience and interpret the world around me. I became more aware of how hard our faith actually is. Being comfortable has its place, but it is not sufficient. Unitarian Universalist minister David O. Rankin preached that a religion that promises life without tension, a life without conflict, a life without suffering is a religion of passivity, a religion of mediocrity, a religion of insignificance. Everything worth doing in the world is a desperate gamble, a game of chance where nothing is certain. Unitarian Universalism calls us to be sowers and gardeners. Our faith calls us to work the hard ground of injustice. And also, Unitarian Universalism has the grace to give us good soil to take a rest every now and then before we go back to the rocky ground of injustice. We don't have all the answers. We never will. The rocky ground that we till, not only of injustice, but the rocky ground we till is the ground of human lived experience. Now, toward the end of his life, Unitarian ancestor Ralph Waldo Emerson had a wake-up experience, one of those life experiences that some of us have. For decades, Emerson had been writing and speaking about self-reliance. Take care of your own house before dare venturing out and taking care of something else. You might say he was an intellectual and theological abolitionist. He sowed thoughtful seeds, but didn't really get down into the dirt until one day he saw it with his own eyes. Trouble came to Boston, his hometown. It went like this. There was a runaway slave that was found in the city. Now, the law said that you had to return runaway slaves back to their master, to their owner. And, when it was just theory or in a book or out there somewhere, it's like, okay, it happened. You might not like it and you can write about it. But when it happens in your own backyard and you actually see it, it comes right close to home. And Emerson, he could just no longer tell people to ignore that stuff out there. He was convicted. He had to begin to act. He spent his later years actually preaching and working and tilling that soil for abolition of slavery. These writings aren't as well known as his self-reliance writings, but he spent the last part of his life working the soil. Now, I don't blame Emerson for being late to the game, to the garden, if you will, for getting his hands dirty, down on his hands and knees and trying to figure out what can we really do to help another person. I don't blame him from that. He was a great intellectual and theologian, and we learned so much from that. His writings have given us much to consider. Now, his contemporary, Henry David Thoreau, was quite interesting. He was a naturalist as well as a minister, great theologian, but he actually wrote an essay called Faith in a Seed. And here's a line from it. Just listen to this. He believed that though I do not believe a plant will spring up where no seed has been, I have great faith in a seed. Convince me that you have a seed there, and I am prepared to expect wonders. I love Thoreau's expectations of wonders from a seed, but where the seed is sown, including ideas and pontifications, the question remains, has this soil been tested? Have you done the work? This work of justice is nothing if we don't till the good soil of our own convictions and get our hands dirty in the work. Justice is more than an intellectual exercise. And for that matter, empathy and compassion are as well. They are more than mental machinations. We have to actively plant the seeds of justice. We have to weed out systemic and cultural weeds of white supremacy. We have to water and feed the leaders and workers living and toiling on the front lines. Our faith calls us to do the hard work of hands-on gardening, even and especially when the soil is rocky. Theodore Parker, another Unitarian ancestor, preached that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The work is not finished. The work of justice is, shall we say, in process. And at the same time, it is urgent. Yesterday's news about Amanda Gorman, the young Black poet who delivered a spellbinding, just amazing speech or poem at the January inauguration ceremony, was actually, this is just a heartbreaking story. The news had said that Gorman had been tailed and told, "You look suspicious," by a security guard as she walked home on Friday night. Imagine this, a 22-year-old amazing superstar, fantastic person being tailed and told that she looked suspicious walking home on a Friday night. CNN quotes Gorman's recounting of the event on her verified Instagram account. "A security guard tailed me on my walk home tonight. He demanded if I lived there because you look suspicious. I showed my keys and buzzed myself into my building. He left. No apology." Gorman continued, "This is the reality of Black girls. One day you're called an icon, the next day, a threat." Now, for most of our American history, this would be the end of the story. Incidences like this happen over and over and then get lost in the home hum of sameness. It wouldn't make headlines. It was just the way it was. And unfortunately, too often, it's just the way it still is. But the soil of justice, of injustice, has been toiled again. People are working the fields, if you will. The seeds of protesting injustice have taken root. Black Lives Matter protest against historic racism and the rising and violent tide of white supremacy culture have changed the conversation. Gorman's story joins a long list of wrongs against people of color. In responding to the security guard, Gorman could do nothing in the moment for fear of deadly outcomes. But what she did afterwards is what young people do these days. After the incident, she tweeted. Here's her tweet. "In a sense, the security guard was right. I am a threat to injustice, to inequality, to ignorance. Anyone who speaks the truth and walks with hope is an obvious and fatal danger to the powers that be. A threat and proud." Now, years ago, I would have dismissed Gorman's response. My heart would have been like hard ground, unable to accept the injustice or even hear it. Partly this was due to the culture I grew up in, and partly it was my just being busy with my own life, my own needs. I wasn't really paying attention. It's hard to admit, but I think that's true. I might have changed anyway, but what I discovered that after years of engaging my Unitarian Universalist faith, I found myself more focused, more attuned, more ready to hear, and more ready to do the hard work. I am less patient with sowing seed and tossing out ideas of how to fix serious issues like racism without first testing the soil. In some ways, the work of justice is always done on rocky ground. We know the work is hard, but we also have to build alliances on good soil. The work is too much to do alone. Racism is not new. It's been around for centuries, seemingly forever, but in our country for centuries. The good news is that young people are much less patient in waiting for change. And go get them. I'm so proud of them. It's time for this to be fixed. And it's not just change that is out there somewhere. It's right here in our own lives, in our own church. We have to give the seeds a chance to grow. Our UU faith is not passive. It took Emerson a lifetime to actually get involved, but he did. Amanda Gorman and Black, brown, and marginalized people everywhere should not have to wait for us to decide if it's worth the effort, to figure out the terminology, or to debate the style, tactics, or volume. Black people's lives are on the line now and every day. At the end of the parable of the sower, Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear." And I know that each of us will hear our own message. But for today, I want you to consider how Unitarian Universalism has called you to till the rocky ground of injustice. How has your faith, our faith, called you to till the rocky ground of injustice? Change is coming. The seeds of justice and hope have been sown. And I want to know, can we join with them? Can we join with the row and actually expect wonders? Can we expect something better? Who knows? We might even find a bit of joy in doing the work. We might find some joy knowing that we are helping to make this world a better place, not just for us and our families, but for everyone. My friends, I'll join you in the garden. Blessed be and amen. And before we go to the offering, I would like to share with you Amanda Gordon's picture and the words that she responded in her tweet. In a sense, he, the security guard, was right. I am a threat to injustice, a threat to inequality, a threat to ignorance. Anyone who speaks the truth and walks with hope is an obvious and fatal danger to the powers that be, a threat and proud. Amanda Gorman, this weekend. Sit with that, my friends. Take a deep breath. Our faith is calling us to do the work, to get into the garden even if the soil is rocky and hard. Our faith is calling us, calling each of us to do the work of justice for all. Help us bend that moral arc. Are you ready? Now I'll invite Amber to join us with our offering of how we help in a monetary way to help our neighbors to build a better world. Amanda, I'm sorry, Amber.
No worries. Amanda and I are all part of the A team. Our church is a community of love, caring, and generosity. Together, we work for a more just world. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say, yes, we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. Our Share the Plate recipient for March is Community Refugee and Immigrant Services. Chris is an independent nonprofit organization that serves refugee and immigrant populations in Central Ohio. Their multilingual and cosmopolitan staff team offers a wide range of programs and services designed to facilitate self-sufficiency and successful acclimation for the people they serve. Regardless of your ability to contribute, we value your presence here. The offering that helps build a better church and a better world will now be gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
Wow, Nathan, you've once again just tickle the ivories, if you will. Just a wonderful song. Thank you so much for sharing and playing. I begin our caring meditation with words from Archibald MacLeish about the wonders of spring. As you listen, I invite you to breathe deeply, to listen with your mind, your heart, your body, and then breathe again deeply. Why, it was wonderful, writes MacLeish. Why, all at once there were leaves, leaves at the end of a dry stick, small, alive, leaves out of wood. It was wonderful. You can't imagine. They came back by the wood path, and the earth loosened. The earth relaxed. There were flowers out of the earth. Think of it. And oak trees oozing new green at the tip of them, and flowers squeezed out of clay. Soft flowers, limp stalks, flowering. Well, it was a dream. It happened so quickly. All of a sudden, it happened. My friends, welcome to the cusp of spring. I invite you to breathe in the air of the soil and of gardening and of freshness and the return of life in the garden. As a community of care, we notice the miracles of spring and the miracles of our own lives. Flowers at the ends of wood stems, joys intermingled with sorrows, life in all of its complexities, here, now, miracles. Our caring cards this morning. Mary Lou M. will have several outpatient heart procedures on March 9th. Mary Lou, our thoughts and prayers are with you for a successful surgery and speedy recovery. We're with you. Jan Spangler, a longtime member of this church and a CPA in Clintonville, died in Chico, California on February 27th. Her daughters request that her old friends spend a moment for a kind thought or memory directed to Mom. I invite you to take a deep breath and send loving thoughts to Jan's family and also bring back a memory of her. Good news, on February 23rd, Yesh Cosme was appointed to the inaugural position of Columbus Southside Area Commission Youth at-Large Youth Commissioner. He has been an integral part of community activism on the South Side for many years and is excited to have a formal voice at the table. Yay, Yesh. He plans to focus on amplifying the voices of other Black, brown, and disabled neighbors. Yes, yes, a place at the table. Very good. Congratulations. Congratulations are in order as well to Emily Vale and family. Emily gave birth to identical twin boys on February 2nd. Her first baby, named Prosper, had life-saving surgery on the day he was born and will be in the children's NICU for 3 months. Her second baby, named Story, is healthy and growing at home. Congratulations, Emily, and to your whole family, and best wishes for the health and well-being of both of your babies. Congratulations. And now Amber is going to help us with the things that you have brought forward in the chat. Amber.
These are the joys and sorrows that you brought forward in the chat today. The Smith family sends comfort and love to their dear friend, Jessica, and to her husband as they cope with the loss and sorrow of a recent miscarriage. Sending healing thoughts to them. Dana R. shares that a week from tomorrow, he will have rotator cuff outpatient surgery on his right shoulder. Hopefully that will go well for you, and you will also have a speedy recovery. Tom R. shares the joy of receiving his first dose of the vaccine. That's a joy that I hope more of you get to experience soon. Lucretia H. shares that she would like to thank our Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care, Isabel Call, for directing her to the grief recovery method. After the death of her husband in November, Lucretia was at a loss, and the grief sessions are helping her move forward with acceptance and love. I'm glad to hear that, Lucretia. May we hold the joys and sorrows that we shared and those that are still unspoken gently in our hearts.
Thank you, Amber, and thank you everyone for submitting your joys and sorrows. It makes our community stronger by lifting our sorrows so we don't have them by ourselves in isolation, but also lifting up our joys so that they can be multiplied. I will ring our temple bell so that we can go into a moment of silence, of prayer, of meditation, or simply being. In a moment after that, I will ring the bell again as we continue our service. I invite you now into singing together once again, surprised by joy. Let us sing.
Surprised by joy, no song can tell, no thought can compass. Here we stand to celebrate eternal love, to reach for one another's hand. Beyond all other gifts is this best gift alone to mortals give, the love of parent, love of friend, attunes our hearts to bliss of heaven. Faith, hope, and love here come alive. Life's deepest treasure is made known when in forgiving, giving all, inseparable
Thank you, Brandon, for once again helping us with singing. Our closing words this morning are from Linda Buckmaster, an author, poet, and founding member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Belfast, Maine. At the ruins of the 7 churches in Ashmore, pick a crevice, a homey gap between stones, and make it your own. Grow a life here from wind, rain, and the memories of ancients embedded in the limestone. The bees will use you for their sweet honey. The rock will soften under your touch. You will draw moisture from fog and hold it. Your presence will build soil. This is all we have in this life, all we own. A flowering, an opening, a gap between stones for tiny, tender roots. If you have your chalice nearby, your chalice, your candle, I invite you to bring it close so we can extinguish our flame together. Please join with me in our closing, in our chalice extinguishing words, which are taken from our vision statement as a congregation. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our chalice is extinguished.
Cards of support for Edith Espinal and Miriam Vargas celebrating their recent exit from sanctuary need to be dropped off or mailed to the church as soon as possible. Please write the recipient's name on the outside lower left corner of the envelope so we know whose is whose. Thank you. Check out the First UU Bread Network organizing meeting today at 1 p.m. to learn about how you can get involved in this important work for justice. And please join our pastoral team today at 2 p.m. for an informative program about addressing hoarding and accumulation of clutter. For more information on upcoming events, please join our email list. Everyone is invited to coffee hour after the service for fellowship and fun. See you there.
And speaking of fun, we have a closing song, When the Spirit Says Do. This is an African-American spiritual from the civil rights period, and it was arranged by Mark Freund, who is the music director, soon to be retiring from my home congregation in Greensboro, North Carolina. Let us sing.
Says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance. Oh Lord, says dance. Spirit 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 says dance.
Wow, that was a lot of energy. Thanks for singing along. I just love going out and dancing into the sunshine today. Before we go, I want to thank everyone for helping to put this service together and also to all of you for being present with us today. Special thanks to Sylvia and Paul for helping us to light our chalice, to our wonderful Sue Fonlacher for the flowers, and Angela today on tech. Special thanks as always to all of our musicians, Nathan and Brandon for showing up today, and for all the our choir directors do to hold our choirs together during this time of pandemic. I also want to thank all of our ministry team for helping us this week and every week, for just being a wonderful presence for you as a congregation. We couldn't do this without you and without each other. Once again, thank you, Nathan. Just so you know that I will be sending out a card. It says, "Let justice roll down like water," from members and friends of First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. The inside right here from members and friends. I will be sending that out to Miriam and Edith, and to both ministers, pastors at the churches where they were in sanctuary. You are also invited to bring your cards and drop them off by the church. There's a box by the front door. You can do that. So do that today. Do that soon. As we go into our coffee hour, here's our discussion prompt, not only for coffee hour, but also to take into the week with you. How has your Unitarian Universalist faith called you to till the rocky ground of injustice? How has your faith, your Unitarian Universalist faith, called you to till the rocky ground of injustice? My friends, I will see you in coffee hour shortly. Let us listen to a little more music, and I'll see you there.